Hello everyone. My name is Chise, and today I wanted to make an update video on the status of my main Precure fan series, Oceana Precure. This probably won't be a very long video, but I wanted to make it regardless so you guys are aware of what's going on and where I'm at. There isn't any preamble to this, so let's jump right in. So where has Oceana Precure been? That's a good question, and the easy answer is that it's been gone for about 2 years. Duh. But why has it been gone? Well, that is a multi-layered issue, and the reason why I wanted to make this video. This isn't the main reason, but a simple, big factor is that I'm simply growing up. When I first created Oceana Precure, I was 18 and still in high school, so I had far more free time to create things. But I'm 24 now, so as I get older and progress into my adult life, I'm going to have less and less time to work on passion projects. This does not mean that I will ever stop creating, absolutely not. I love drawing and writing, so not doing that would probably make me go insane. All this means is that there will be longer breaks between updates. However, the main reason why I haven't updated Oceana Precure in a while is that I again lost confidence in the story I had laid out. If you remember this video I made in 2022, I discussed how I had created a story I was much more proud of, and how much I had improved from the original version of the series. To some extent, that is still true, because I am very proud of the story and ideas I had come up with, because it has me excited to share with you guys. However, problems began to arise fairly quickly when I realized that, while I had a decent story, I hadn't laid out the specifics enough. When you plan out a story ahead of time, you're able to pace things well, work plot and character development together, properly put in nuggets of foreshadowing, and more. I hadn't done that. I had a basic idea of major plot points and important moments, but I hadn't really planned out a way to string those events together into a cohesive story. I very frequently read back through old chapters of anything I've written, and I notice so many errors. Yeah, you are your own worst critic and all that, but there were still very obvious things that could have been changed to help the story feel more cohesive. A good example is Chapter 6, where Takumi became Kirnalu. I was so excited for that chapter because Takumi is my favorite Cure on the team, and I was laying the foundation for a major plot point that I also wasn't really being very subtle about. A big part of this was the girls reading through entries in the prince's journal to learn more about him and their mission. What I realized after rereading is that I put in way too many entries that added nothing substantial to the chapter. Entries about how the original king and queen of the Ocean Kingdom were corrupt and the prince had overcome that and made the kingdom a better place, or entries that weren't finished because they were being written right before the kingdom was attacked. These were entries that were not necessary and could have been used later in the series as I expanded more on the lore of the Ocean Kingdom and the prince's character. I remember being so proud of how big the word count for the chapter was, but a lot of that was inflated by meaningless journal entries and the kind of unnecessary discussion around them. There are other issues, of course, but that's just an easy example I want to mention because when I go back and read through that chapter, I always skip over the individual entries because they drag on way too long. My plan moving forward to try and fix these issues is to plan out every single chapter in detail beforehand so I can avoid large sections of meaningless content like that. I'm working off of bullet point lists of major events that happen in each chapter and expanding upon them. This method should also allow me to link other important things together, such as character development across chapters. Speaking of characters, that was another major thing I was not really pleased with. In that aforementioned video from 2022, I laid out basic plans for what I was going to explore with each character, and most of that will remain the same, but with some tweaks and expansion that also tie into the series' theme at large. I said basically nothing about Kona in that video, but my new plans for her are essentially her working on her self-confidence. She is shy and awkward in most social situations, and is even scared if these situations are brand new and involve unfamiliar people. She's generally very shy if she's in an unfamiliar environment. I touched on this a little bit in Chapter 6, but it wasn't really expanded upon and sort of forgotten within the chapter itself because it wasn't the main focus. I want to go more in depth with the concept of Kona working on her self confidence, since I want to explore the theme of self confidence through the series as a whole. Next up is Shio, and I'm making some pretty big changes to her. I am keeping her struggles with accepting her sexuality, but with the self confidence angle. I think I'm going to try to give her some multi layered struggles. I don't want to say too much, but I am making Shio a ballerina now to give her a little more substance, and also because I find ballerinas very pretty. That way, I can give her self confidence problems through her dancing and have that lead into her covering up issues she has with being comfortable with her sexuality. She's still going to have the annoying, strict, and conservative mother, which plays a big role in her self doubt, but of course, all of this is still being worked on so I can lay it out properly. For Hikaru, I am still a little stuck. Personality-wise, she's going to remain completely the same. She's a chaotic dumbass, and I absolutely love her for that. With the self-doubt or self-confidence angle, though, I'm still messing around with ideas for her. I'm considering having her struggles come from maybe expectations from extended family or some body image issues, but I'm not too sure yet. She's the one I have the least to say about. And last but not least, my best boy Takumi. A lot about him will remain the same, but honestly, you won't notice most of the changes I did make, since I didn't make it far enough into the series to really lay out Takumi's stories anyway. A big part of his story will be him trying to find something fulfilling. He wants to find a career or another activity that fills him with joy rather than it being a societal standard. What is that activity? Yeah, I'm not sure yet, but that's why I'm working on the story again so I can address all of this properly. I am also making changes to the obligatory mid-season cure, but you never met her, so you know nothing about her anyways. But I will likely use her as an excuse to make a Love Live fan series, so that should be fun. Another big aspect I wasn't confident about and wanted to change was some of the character designs. I never hated the old ones, but I wanted to make tweaks because with the changes to their characters as a whole, it just made sense. Oh, and also because the old art sucked, and I wanted to update it. Well, this only applies to two of them. Cure Pearl and Cure Nalu will almost entirely retain their original designs. The only change I made was to Pearl's hair because the side piece on the right side of her face pissed me off, and I hated drawing it, so I simply removed it. Nalu's is completely unchanged. When it comes to Tide and Reef, their designs changed the most. Tide especially. I unfortunately won't really say much because I want them to be a surprise, but since Shio is a ballerina now, I gave her Cure Form a ballet-style outfit because tutus are way too pretty. For Reef, her outfit is by and large the same, but I changed the styling of her skirt to match closer with her new theme, and gave her more saturated greens in the gradients on her hair and legs. I always thought the greens in her design were way too light and barely visible, so I made them more saturated so they're now more visible. I will not be revealing the full designs yet, but I will give you a little snippet and tease the look of the updated art since I can't hold everything back. Cure Pearl in 2019 versus 2025. Cure Tide in 2019 versus 2025. Cure Reef in 2019 versus 2025. And Cure Nalu in 2021 versus 2025. Along with this comes updated civilian outfits for the girls as well, because quite frankly, the old ones sucked. Those I have already revealed in this art piece, but they'll be shown in the updated reference art as well. Another big change is their cure names. Yes, most of their names will be changing. This again comes with me changing their character themes and arcs, so the choices were made to match them better. No, I will not yet be revealing their new names, as you can probably tell, since I'm referring to them by the names you are currently familiar with. The reveal will come later, but I feel pretty confident with the choices I have made. Well, except for Pearl, she gets to keep her name. I have also changed the series' logo. Well, more like updated it. All I really did was recolor it because I no longer liked the washed out pastel vibes of the original, so I just made them more saturated, kinda like what I did with Reef's new design. I think that's all for the characters, but I guarantee that I'll think of something after I've published this video and be like, well, fuck. But I guess this last part can be a little miscellaneous details section. A lot of these details can be found in this thread I have on Twitter. It has changes and updates to the series as I come up with them, so it's not very cohesive, but something you can take a look at if you're interested. The link will, of course, be in the description. Delphi will use her human form for the first time a lot earlier than before because she's cute, and it will force me to include her in chapters. I've always had a tendency to unintentionally forget about her, and she tends to disappear in scenes. Having her in her human form rather than her fairy form should, in theory, make it easy for me to remember her in scenes. I will be changing the transformation phrase as well as the Cure's roll call phrases, again to better match their new themes. I'm actually giving the Cure's carrying pouches for the heart shells in their civilian forms. The structure for Chapter 2 will be far different and allow Takumi to appear earlier. Actually, for that matter, a couple of the chapters will be completely different and have a new structure. The Kirai Mizus will have a new name that isn't just hate water in Japanese. And I think that about does it for this video. Again, this was just meant to be a quick update because I'm sure many of you are curious about the status of Oceana, and I wanted to give you some information. I still do not have a timeline for when the series will make a full return, because I want to have the first several chapters rewritten before I make the announcement. If you guys want to know more and catch any updates as they happen, I recommend checking out that updates thread or following the Oceana Precure Twitter account. All relevant links are in the description for easy access. Thank you guys so much for your continued support of Oceana Precure. It really means a lot to know that people enjoy something that I created. Have fun, don't die, and go Avs!